everyone, this video is to show you how to use Cornell note-taking system. It is not a requirement that you use Cornell Notes. However, I think in the circumstances that we are finding ourselves in, it is going to really benefit you and make our time together much more productive. So the expectation is before our class meets online or when we switch to a hybrid schedule, you start coming to class. The expectation is that you have watched the video that was assigned the day before. So in the video, it would have said solving two-step equations. That's the topic. Another word that is going to come up is called learning target. That is basically the concept that we're supposed to be covering. So you would be at home, not in school, you would be at home watching the video of me teaching you how to solve two-step equations. In that video, I would have gone over what these were, but you would have at least wrote down these words. Now, you might have paused the video and wrote down a little bit more, but this is the bare minimum of what you have written down. In the video that you watched, where I was teaching you how to solve two-step equations, these were the two examples that I did. So it is the expectation that if I wrote something down in that video, you also have written it down in your notebook or binder, whatever you're going to use. Now you notice that my notes did not start on the edge of the paper. I left a little bit of space here. So what I did before I started writing was I just folded the paper over a little bit. And then after it was folded, I drew this line. It's not measured, it's not perfect, it's barely even straight, but the idea is that there is a gap so that we can write in these margins. So at this point in time, you have written down in front of you what my paper looked like in the video that you watched while you were at home in one of your asynchronous days of learning. So it's my expectation that when you meet with me, you have this in front of you. One of the first things that we'll do during our time together is go over the video that you watched. So this space here is for you to write down questions. So as you're watching the video, you didn't understand something, you might have a question, and so you would go ahead and write that down so that you don't forget that you didn't understand that. I know you got other classes and a lot going on, so if I say something in the video that you don't understand, or I did something in the video that you don't understand, you're going to write that question here. Now remember, these videos, you can pause them, you can rewatch them as many times as you want to, but the expectation is you have at least watched it once and written down everything that I wrote down in the video. So you're going to come to our Zoom meeting, or when we start meeting on A-Day, B-Day schedule, you'll come to class and you'll have this. And the first thing that we'll do is go through questions that you wrote down on this side. So you'll put in the chat box that you have a question. I'll call on you. And so let's say, for example, that you don't know what like terms are. So as a class, we're going to write down, what are like terms? And so you'll ask me in the class, what are like terms? As a class, maybe someone remembered what they are, but you say like terms have the same variable and, I can't fit it, but that's okay, same variable and exponent. And so we will start to annotate our notes so that when you look back over them, they actually make sense to you. So maybe you didn't have this question originally, but as a class, we decided it was a good question, so we wrote it down. So my notebook should start to look exactly like your notebook. I will be making my notes Cornell so that I can keep track of what questions you guys had. All right, so let's say a little bit further into our time together, somebody else had a different question. Somebody didn't understand why we subtracted 1 here in this step. So we'll write down, why did we minus 1? Why did we subtract 1? However you wanted to word it on your notes. So we subtracted 1 because it is opposite from plus 1. And plus 1 was in the equation, minus 1 is opposite. So we subtracted 1 on both sides. You might need to draw an arrow to remind you that the answer comes from that line. That's where the question even came from. And some days we might fill this up. Some days we might only have a few questions. But this way, when you're looking back over these, maybe you're studying for one of our assessments, you have a more interactive version of what you wrote down. And you can pop into office hours and ask me other questions. But this way, it kind of keeps us all on the same page. And it holds you and I both accountable. It holds me accountable for trying to make sure that I'm posting videos that are well explained for you. And it also helps me see where your misconceptions are. Your ability to make mistakes and ask questions is going to make our time together very productive. And you're going to learn a whole lot that way. And so again, you don't have to use the Cornell Note system, but I think it will really benefit you, especially if you're somebody that kind of maybe takes longer to learn certain concepts, which is fine. Not everybody learns at the same pace. I personally learned math very slowly as well, so I'm on the same page with you. But you can also ask me a question that maybe even extends the topic further to give you a deeper understanding of the material.